Oh, g'day, how you going? It's Phil Tarrant, co-host or host actually of the Smart Bright Investment Show. Welcome back. Co-host of this particular instalment of it, where I get together with our regular guest expert across the world of mortgages, Eva Loisance, who is my turn-to person for all things finance when it comes to property investment. And she heads up the team at Finni, a very talented group of mortgage brokers who are writing home loans and mortgages for investors right across the nation, which is good. They do such a great job. I decided to invest in that business, and they continue to do my mortgages. I think I'm their most disliked client, but I still get some privileges because of my involvement in the business. But they're very busy. They are specialists in and around mortgage finance for property investors, and I lean on them to help me out, and they'll continue to do so. I'm going to do some financing early in the new year. They don't yet know this, so this is the first time that Eva would have heard about it. But yeah, good fun to come downstream. Eva, how you going?
Yeah, great, thank you.
Yeah, what's been happening?
Well, I'm waiting for your instructions on your new mortgage.
Yes. You haven't got any time until the end of the year, have you?
No, until 2026 now.
In 2026. Is that what you tell people when they call up and go, oh, can I get a home loan? You go, oh, we're busy, like the first appointment's 2026.
Yeah, depends who calls.
Yeah.
Now, we try by the end of the year to prioritize, obviously people all want to settle before Christmas.
Yeah.
So we try to make sure those can go first and
so you actually have to sort of say to some people sometimes,
at this time of the year, yeah.
Yeah, because everyone wants everything. You speak to anyone at the moment, I want it done before Christmas, tradies and whatnot. Yep. Yeah, it gets pretty hard. Okay,
yeah.
So.
I don't know why, because think about it, if you settle on an investment, then it's like sometimes 2 or 3 weeks before you can have openings for tenants to get in. So, yeah.
How often do people still buy an investment property without pre-approval?
Yeah, often.
Like a lot or just sometimes?
Probably 40% of the time.
Really?
Yeah.
So people call you up and say, I've just bought a property, I've just signed a contract, I'm in a finance clause.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of, and I guess I'm going to be tapping myself on the back there. It's like if I would get it sorted.
Okay. So this is like, I know I do it, and I know other people who use Finni just go, to be right, they'll be able to work it out.
That's so Australian, right? I'll be all right.
Yeah, she'll be right.
Yeah.
You're an Aussie though, aren't you?
Yeah.
I know you sound funny and you got a weird last name, but you get it done. Get it done the Aussie way. But I imagine a lot of that is within your organisation, the way your team work. You have a very sort of positive, connected mindset with how you go about doing stuff. Yes, it might be problematic. You get the job done, and you see a lot of property investors who. The successful ones I know, and being a smart property investor, name of this show, they typically are pretty dialed in and tuned into how they think, and they're able to control their emotions and be decisive in their decision making for the purpose of creating wealth through property. And that's what makes smart investors. And we speak a lot about it on this podcast. The tactical applications of getting finance and strategically how you do it, but success still comes down to how positive or negative you think about your buying journey and your investment journey, and how your mind will shape your attitude towards risk. And a lot of people negatively impact their attitude to risk because of all the reasons why they shouldn't be doing something rather than why they should be doing something. And we chat a lot about mindset on this podcast, but we've never really delved more into it other than just sort of, sanitized sort of view of it all, because we're not really qualified to do so. But yet, we've brought someone to the show that actually can talk to us, Sonya Furlong, who is from the Centre of Life Therapies. Mindset coach, is that the best way to frame who you are and what you do?
Yeah.
Is that such a thing?
It's absolutely such a thing.
Okay.
Yes, so mindset coach and a master trainer of neuro-linguistic programming. I don't know if you've heard of that.
I know NLP. That's the... I think my wife used it on me in order to capture me as a bloke.
Okay.
This is like
she was successful.
She was
clearly.
very successful, and obviously there is success around it. No, I'm familiar with it. I was some time ago. I was maybe a victim of NLP, but which is let me. I'm going to frame what I think NLP is, and you can tell me whether or not.
Go for it.
I'm right or wrong. NLP is probably a structured approach to shaping the emotions and the mindsets of people through the positive application of words and motion to help shape what they should be doing.
That's pretty good.
Is that all right?
It's not bad at all. Yeah.
Completely off the cuff. And it's a bit mysterious as well. There's sort of a little bit of,
Well, if you want me to explain it.
Yes, please.
So in simple terms, NLP is the study of success.
Okay.
And it's applying those principles of success into your life to design it the way you want it. And so it's made up of neuro, which is the mind and the mind-body, and linguistic is the language, as you mentioned, and the programming, that's our habits, our behaviours, those repetitive thoughts and the repetitive behaviours and outcomes that we have in life. So if you work on any one of those three elements, you're going to change your life. So in NLP, we work on all three simultaneously to make change very rapidly.
Sorry, what were the three again?
I'm
a simple guy. Yeah.
Neuro, which is the mind-body. Yeah. Linguistic, which is the language.
Words.
And programming, the behaviours.
Behaviour.
Yeah.
All right. So there's a bit of a architecture then for people like myself who probably aren't the most intelligent but try and simplify things. So it's how your mind interfaces with what you say or what you hear, and then therefore what you do as a result of it.
Exactly right.
Okay, I get that.
And the linguistic, like not only the words we say to others, but probably even more importantly,
what we say to ourselves.
The words we say to ourselves.
And I think that's probably the important point for this podcast is the internal narrative that people have, which shapes their behaviours. And an internal narrative will be determined by your situational awareness with the world around you, the levels of influence you have with positive and negative people in your life, the challenges or stresses that you have within your life. That's all going to shape and determine your internal narrative, and it's how well you can capture and curate your internal narrative will best determine how you go about doing stuff.
100% correct.
And we're talking about mortgage finance here.
That's right.
There you go.
Applying it to property. Yes.
There you go.
Yes.
Okay. So I sort of know a little bit.
100% you
Okay.
do.
So, but I probably get criticised for it sometimes. I try and pull stuff apart to their most fundamental building blocks and try and make it easy for people to understand. So I sort of get that, and if I can get it, typically most people can get that.
Yeah, it should be simple.
It should
can
be simple. So NLP has been around a while?
Since the early 70s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who was the original practitioner of it?
It was created at the University of California, Santa Cruz by Professor John Grinder and Dr. Richard Bandler. It was in that time of the 70s, that human potential movement, where before that psychology was getting really dysfunctional people to functional. And in the 70s, they were like, why can't we get functional people to extraordinary? And what would it take to make that happen? And so they studied the greatest minds of their day, the greatest psychologists, the greatest psychiatrists, the greatest scientists. And from that, they distilled down all their wisdom into techniques that could be replicated. So, they studied Dr. Milton Erickson. He was a famous psychiatrist, and he created modern hypnotherapy. And so they said, okay, well, he speaks in this kind of way. So then they would practice that technique on someone else, and if they could get the same result over and over again, that would become an NLP technique. And through that, they were able to distill down all this genius, the structure of genius, which is what they were studying, into simple processes that anyone can do to improve their life.
So is this a discipline, psychology?
Unfortunately, it isn't accepted in the institution
it's still a bit
of
contentious,
psychology.
Isn't it?
It is.
Yeah,
It
okay.
is. It's called a pseudoscience and all of that. Not that there's really anything wrong with that, but it's not really understood by a lot of the mainstream psychologists, even though it comes from psychology itself.
And is that just sort of academic contest?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, because there's actually a ton of research. A colleague of mine is actually writing a book with all the scientific research about NLP, and there is a ton of it. So it is as evidence-based as any other process.
So I'm quite intrigued by it, and essentially it's how you can control your mind in order to be able to do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
And we're looking at it through the lens of property investment, and you've mentioned it before, Eva. What is the main difference between a property investor who is on a wealth creation journey that buys between one or two properties and or create large portfolios which create long-term generational wealth. Now, we often talk about it's because they buy the wrong property first and therefore it stifles their ability to do more. There's probably one reason for it, but there would be an argument to say, well, maybe one of the major reasons why people don't grow into being multiple properties in their portfolio and create sort of significant wealth is because their mind stops them.
That's right.
You know, that's the debate.
At the numbers, well, the basic numbers of 100 of 100 Australian, I think it's 20% do invest, only 20%. So that's definitely just a mindset thing, right? It's not I bought the wrong property or I don't have money or whatever. It's
also only 20% of people invest because they actually take a proactive approach
to investing and knowing where to invest. And then out of those 20%, I think it's only 2% that have more than 2 properties. So there's like steps there between people that do not invest, people that invest a little bit, and the one that are doing great. And if you look at just in the media, if you actually listen to the media, it's like, oh, it's impossible to buy a property these days. The young generation can never buy a property these days. I'm doing loans for 20 years old every day. Where'd that come from? And people read that and believe that every day, so they just don't buy properties. That's 80%. The rest do, because they find ways to move forward and push the self-limiting belief, I think that's how you call them, self-limiting belief of I can't afford it, or it's too risky, or it's going to cost me too much, my dad said this, or I don't know.
So this might be topical. I'm going to ask you this question. I'm going to put you on the spot with it. Do more people not invest because they can't financially or because they can't mentally?
Mentally. I would say 100% mentally.
That's quite topical.
I see it every day. I mean, I get a small percentage of the population that is interested in investing anyway. But often the one I get that do not invest if they could is because they're freaking out. They don't understand. They don't have enough information to make an informed decision. So they're like, it's better to have a control approach and knowing what's not going to happen if they go ahead. Did
you actually get involved? It's probably outside the scope of your, what do they call it? Responsible lending?
Best interest duties.
Best interest duties, that's what I'm looking for. How much does that cover the non-financial aspects of investing? Like, would you ever go to someone, you probably shouldn't be borrowing money because you're probably not mentally wired effectively enough to actually take it on, right? Like, and what I would preface that is, if you look at, and you probably speak to this, Sonya, a lot of the stresses that are created in and around families or relationships or everything else is financial, right? So there is the financial boogeyman can actually be quite a fearful attribute for shaping people's decision making. Yeah,
and I think there's a lot as well where the financial side of it is relying on one person in the relationship. And when you start having a career, the kids, whatever else, and then having to do that again, it's also a lot if you don't understand it properly. So it becomes like a too hard basket. And if I do something wrong, everything's going to fall back on that one person.
Yeah. So it's accountability and responsibility is something that scares people.
Yeah. But again, if you can understand it and take calculated risk that the other person is comfortable with, that might help people go through with more.
So it sounds as though smart property investors are able to train their mind in a positive way. And I would argue that everyone would have negative thoughts at some point for all the reasons why they shouldn't be doing something. So how do you actually go about processing positivity to change and shape your behaviour, which is one of those foundations of NLP? Welcome back, Phil Tarrant from Smart Property Investment. I hope you're enjoying our conversation. I've got Eva Loisance joining us in the studio along with Sonya Furlong, from the Centre for Life Therapies, an NLP practitioner. And I'm sort of quite intrigued about NLP. Has anyone, Sonya, done a PhD yet on the mind as a shaping or influencing factor for property investment? Because I think it would be absolutely intriguing. To Eva's earlier point, it's not they probably can't financially do it. They psychologically can't or won't do it. I don't know if it's been done before.
Probably not. Well, I don't know about directly around property investing, but I know Stanford University did a study on Tony Robbins, you know Tony Robbins, and on participants of his trainings. And they found, like 100% increase or improvement in depression and, a 300% increase in their achievement of their goals and all these kinds of things. So that neuroplasticity, our mind is flexible and changeable. And it really only takes, James Clear, Atomic Habits, it only takes on average 66 days to wire a new habit in. So people can have a very fixed mindset or they can have a growth mindset. And people who have a fixed mindset think that, well, this is the way I am, this is the way my parents were, and this is the reality, I am right, and this is all there is. And then there's people with a growth mindset who go, actually, I can change, I can learn, I can research, I can study, I can go and work on my mindset, and I can change my life and earn as many properties as I want.
So it's sort of quite theoretical, but I'm quite intrigued by this idea of either a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. I think if you have a growth mindset, you probably don't know it or you don't think it because it's just normalised and that's just the way it is. But what you're saying is that you can actually pivot from a fixed to a growth mindset, but something pretty magical probably needs to happen in the middle.
Yeah, I think in some ways when I look back on my life, I grew up in a very fixed mindset home, and actually my first marriage, my ex, he was very fixed in his mindset, and I think I must have been as well, right, because I attracted that kind of mindset. And then, there's just comes a point of curiosity, I guess, where this isn't working and maybe there is another way. I wonder what that would look like. And then reading a book, going to a lecture and actually going, oh my God, there's people who think differently, and I just want to hang around with these people and learn some more. And so then that process of change begins. So there has to be that curiosity.
Yeah, I guess, what is the flashpoint or inflection point for curiosity? Because if you have a fixed mindset, you're not going to have the awareness to actually appreciate when there's something new in front of you, and therefore being able to take the initiative to take action, right?
That's
so
true. Yeah.
So how do you, and I imagine there will be a lot of people tuning into this podcast, and we have buyer's agents coming onto the podcast. Some of them I know Finni works with quite closely, and they'll talk about people who are, or that they're going to do something. These people who are in this cycle of, perpetual research and they're just indecisive and they never take action versus those that actually take action. And this is the key differentiator between people in properties, those that take action. But I don't know. I don't know how people can drag themselves out of a negative sentiment and a can't to a can-do culture.
There's a framework called the universal process of change that every human goes through multiple times, where life is going along, dum-de-dum, life's fine, it's known, it's okay, it's not perfect, but it's all right. And then there comes the discomfort, the feeling that, this isn't enough. And people try to go back to position A, we call it, where life was comfortable.
So safe,
known, right? And then it gets to a tipping point where position B, where it's like, this just isn't working for me anymore. And then we dive down into this big downhill slope into position C. And that's where a person has the possibility to change, because you've only got two choices down there. You stay down there and you continue to suffer and going on with the same fixed mindset. And some people choose that. They choose to do that for decades. Or at that point when things are just so unbearable that you go, something has to change. And then there's that percentage of people who will then climb out of that and look for answers. And then that actually begins this very exhilarating upward curve on this process of change, where suddenly there's all these new people, you're meeting new people and you're getting new ideas, and there's all these new possibilities and unlimited potential. And you grow and you actually evolve to a new version of yourself. And then that becomes your new A, and that becomes the norm. And then life goes on again. And at some point, that's not going to be enough either. And you have a choice to either grow or be stuck.
So should you seek the bottom of that pit in order to
Well, everyone's
generate change?
Everyone's gonna hit that pit. But the choice we have is how long we stay there.
Yeah.
So a fixed mindset person is going to end up staying there potentially for decades, while growth mindset person can actually move out of it quite quickly.
Yeah. And again, it's quite theoretical, but I enjoy the discussion. If you make that choice of whether stay where you are or actually move and shift and change things, and that requires a level of consciousness, absolutely, and also confidence or some belief that there is something better as a result of it, and also I would say accountability for yourself. And I think one of the biggest issues, speaking psychologically, and not a psychologist in any way, is that a lot of people look to other people to change and shape their trajectory in where they're going in life. And I think that's a fundamental flaw. You need to be accountable for yourself. But say you do choose to take action and chart a new course for yourself, how do you maintain the momentum from the steps up and out from that? And I imagine momentum breeds momentum, but how do you know when you're on positive momentum and how to cultivate it?
Yeah, great question. I mean, one, you'd feel it within yourself, and it's usually...
What would those feelings be?
It's like excitement and positivity and energy. There's like this flow and energy. You know, when people are in a rut and they're very stuck, and you can feel it, like it's got this rut energy, right? And then when life is moving, there's this energy and excitement and just this happiness. People are happy again.
It's funny because I can really picture that with my clients. Like the first property is like, oh, I need to do something, but I don't want to. And then I think it's also information. Once they have enough information to make that move and feel like they're not out of control completely. And then they're so excited they want their second property right away. And then
So you probably then get into the business.
I see that a lot, actually. What you're saying is very much...
But the inverse of that will probably happen when you got to start going, you got to slow down.
So sometimes, the equity that is not growing quick enough, and like, what can I do next? But I can really see that.
Yeah, and to answer your question about how do you maintain that momentum, and you're saying people look to others, and that's not necessarily the right thing to do. I actually think it is the right thing to do because we have 95,000 thoughts in our head every single day. And up to around 95,000. And about 90% of them are the same thoughts every single day. People are just thinking the same, either good thoughts or rubbish thoughts every single day. And that's how they get into these ruts. So you actually do need, like I'm a coach, right? So the reason is because people need accountability. They need somebody outside of themselves to keep them on the path, to keep them moving forward in the right direction, because the mind is overwhelming, right? When we think about how much energy a thought has, and we have 95,000 of them, and a lot of them are rubbish. Apparently 80% of our thoughts are negative. Right? That's just comes with the packaging. Right? Just 80% of our thoughts are negative. And so you need someone outside of yourself to sort of tether you to your goals.
I completely agree with that. And in property investment, they're called buyer's agents or mortgage brokers or your accountant. And I think they're an absolute critical component of any successful investor, is that they actually build in accountability by these relationships. My point was more orientated towards people outsource their happiness to other people, and they think other people should make them happy.
That is a big problem.
That is a big problem. Unless you can manufacture your own happiness, you're not going to have the awareness to actually attach yourself to people who can propel you into the right direction.
Correct. I always say to every client, every student, I say, all you need to do is work on yourself. That's it. If your marriage sucks, work on yourself. If you're being bullied at work, work on yourself. If your finances aren't working for you, if you don't have the money to invest but you want to invest, work on yourself. Because yes, you're right, we've got to get those inner resources happening so that we can then attract the correct external people to match that and help us.
What do you think is the key factor between people that can pivot their thought from a negative to a positive sentiment or a I'm stuck sort of mindset to a growth mindset? If you were going to sort of give our listeners a couple of tips to affect change immediately, what would it be?
So some techniques to change your state immediately?
Yeah.
Well, the first thing, and what makes NLP so special, is the realization that what we're actually responding to, it's not the external event, it's actually the picture in our head, the story in our head. So, we might be talking to Eva about getting a loan, and then we get overwhelmed with all these fears and anxieties that, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to afford it, and what if this happens, and what if I lose my job, and what if the interest rates go up? And we're not actually even responding to Eva's words, we're responding to this story in our head. And that's what you want to look at. Where'd that come from? And then when you look at it, it's like, oh, that's my parents' story. It's not even my story. That's their story. And I've taken it on as truth. And so by changing the pictures in your head, being conscious of them.
So you're talking about visualization, really.
Yeah, exactly. And it can be quick. It can be like that. It can be like, seeing that picture and then going, actually, no, I don't want to think about my parents. I actually want to think about my bright, wonderful future and go towards that and take the good advice from Eva here. So, it can be very quick of just changing your the thoughts in your head and then changing your physiology as well. Like get up, move around, change your state. Often when people are anxious and stressed, their shoulders are hunched forward, their chest is caved in, and they have this whole physical vibe that's very flat and down. And so you want to change that. So even just like going for a walk outside. It was funny in COVID, I had clients who were like, oh, I'm so miserable, I'm so depressed. It's like, have you gone outside for a walk? It's like, no. I thought I had to sit at my computer all day. It's like, just go outside, go for a walk. There's so many things we can do very quickly to change our state.
Yeah, and that's again, it's the skill of a positive mindset is appreciating when you might be, and everyone will get there, like in that moment of time, but knowing how to flick a switch and change immediately, the real tactical application.
Yes, and taking that full responsibility for yourself, that 100% accountability, that I am responsible for everything I feel. It's not the person who's arguing with me. It's not the interest rates. It's not the bank balance. It's I have to take responsibility for how I feel.
Yeah. Welcome back. Phil Tarrant, Smart Property Investment with Eva Loisance from Finni Mortgages. So we spoke about Eva coming up with Chrissy. People are going to tune in this and go, hey, I'm going to have a positive mindset. I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to stop I'm going to start doing, or at least thinking about the new year. And imagine this sort of period over the break is a really good time for people to reflect on their journey through wealth creation and property investment. What was your recommendation? What would you be doing over the break to get yourself set for a better borrowing outcome in the new year?
Do not spend too much.
It's really simple.
There would be, but,
don't have a huge credit card hangover.
Yeah, there's people that would take on new credit cards, so hopefully we can avoid that. And I think, and as you said, it's setting up goals. And it might be get that new job that will give you a better pay. It might be, get rid of those debts that you've had, or starting a bit of savings to get into the next property, revalue your property to get equity out. There's lots there. It's just I'd say, look at your situation and see if there's any opportunity there to do better.
And these are probably the two sides of the balance sheet of mindset versus the tactical applications of investing in property. And what you're talking about there is what you can do to better position yourself and prepare yourself financially. So when you do sit in front of a lender, they're going to be more accommodating with your request about taking on debt.
I've got a great example of a client of Rebecca, actually, who I think he used to earn around 120, and she's like, look, that's it, there's no more. You need to, she said that sort of as a joke, you need to come back with 180 as income, otherwise it's not going to work. And a month later, he did.
How do you manage that?
I don't know. He just went and did it.
Because
he's got that, now he changed job completely.
Okay.
Yeah, but is that mindset? I'm not stopping there with my properties. I'm going to get that job that would get me to the next level. So
that's the mindset shaping a positive outcome to continue. And that's the skill. And before the break, Sonya, we spoke about, how a lot of, we live in such the immediacy of news environment. Eva talks about education is really important. There's a lot of negative education out there. The problem, one of the issues we have in today's environment, there's too much information around property investment, a lot of noise, a lot of misinformation and also disinformation, which can negatively shape a lot of people's behaviours and outcomes. So we always say concentrate on those things you can control rather than things you can't control. No doubt controlling your mindset would be one mechanism or a muscle that you can really develop. And what I would say to that is, and you probably see it in a lot of people that you work with, it's the conditioning of your mind. If you're happy operating in a certain situation or an environment, you get very comfortable operating in that environment. And that could be not everything is certain. You sort of can sit in a position where you're confident in your ability to react and respond to most situations purely because you've got good muscle memory, literally, of your brain. What would be your suggestions to people that really want to exercise their brain more so it's more resilient for shaping or combating negativity, but importantly, putting in the best position to take control of positive outcomes?
Yeah, well, there's many things I can do. One of them is to actually have a good hard look at their belief systems and what do they believe, where are they noticing in their life their frustrations, their blocks, So I was thinking about things that Ava said about, people's beliefs like investing is too risky. And so there's like a beliefs change model, for example, right here, that they can run themselves through where they can write that down and go, okay, investing is too risky. And now actually examine that belief and ask themselves, so how does this belief cause me to act and behave? And how does this belief make me feel? And then to go, do I really want to hold on to this belief? And then if the answer is no, and first actually have a look, when did this belief start? Because it's really interesting. You're talking about conditioning. So much of our beliefs and behaviour, we think we're really unique and we're ourselves, but we're just being conditioned by our parents, by our community, by schooling, society, all these places. So actually go back and go, where did that belief come from? Investing is too risky. Why do I think that? And actually analyse it. Maybe it is their own personal experience, or maybe it's something that came from someone else. It's not even theirs. And then to actually ask themselves, is this belief true? Is it really 100% true? Can I honestly say investing is too risky 100% of the time? And the answer is going to be no, if you're really honest. And so then that allows you to go, well, what do I want to believe now? And to come up with a brand new belief and write it down. So if it was investing is too risky, you might come up with a belief that says, I can learn from those who are already successful. One of the NLP concepts is that if someone else can do something, I can do it too. So find someone. I'm just speaking to Eva and she's like, oh, she's about to buy her 6th investment property. That's so inspiring to me. It's like, I'm going to go talk to this girl and buy a coffee and go, tell me how you did that, right? That's just, I want to learn. And then you find out, well, okay, what are my action steps I can take? Okay, I'm going to research, I'm going to study, I'm going to listen to these podcasts, I'm going to talk to the experts. And that way you can start build a whole new conditioning, a new program, a new behaviour that leads to different outcomes.
So this sort of, I guess, self-interrogation sounds pretty important. A lot of people, they think you're crazy if you spoke to yourself, but it sounds like having a really comfortable relationship with your own mind is a very positive thing.
Yeah.
It's okay to challenge it and sometimes be uncomfortable with it.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it's 2 ways you can do it. One, on your own with journaling and writing it all down, or actually go speak to someone, go speak to a professional and go, I know I'm the common denominator in all the decisions in my life. I know I've got some blocks. Can you help me uncover them and clear them?
So just on that point then, a lot of people might be uncomfortable with the idea of going to someone who is a mind coach because they would probably, maybe they see the world a little bit more old-fashioned where, a mind is not someone that you see someone about in order to change it, because that would mean some level of there's an issue with your mind or consciousness around. So there's still a lot of negative sentiments from some cohorts around psychologists and psychiatry and all that sort of saying you don't need a mind coach, right? Like, so what is it that changes people's views or opinions towards that? So this is not like you go and see a doctor and go, I've got some challenges, which might be, more significant. This is proactively going someone to help you change your ability to have a better relationship with your mind.
Yeah, I think people are more open to it now, and it's like personal trainers, maybe 50 years ago that was unheard of. But now people realise if I want to change my body and I can't do it on my own, I'm going to go pay a personal trainer to do it for me. So a mindset coach is a personal trainer for your mind. So it allows you to show up and be kept accountable and to sort of clear out the old rubbish and put in some nice, fresh, new
That's
thinking.
a really good way to frame it. It's just like seeing a personal trainer. It's not physical, it's mental.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, okay. And how do people go? Like, do you meet many people where you just go, no, I can't change them? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you just go, you're such a fixed mindset, you don't even worry about it. Like, I bet
they wouldn't come to see you. They wouldn't come to see how I feel.
Very rarely,
Yeah.
I'll pick it up on that first discovery call where you can hear it in their language. Everyone else is to blame. They've done nothing wrong. They can't see anything wrong with themselves. They just wish, all these other people would
So do many people get sent by a partner and saying, you got to do something about this, like go and see Sonya? Does that happen?
It does a lot.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's always like I always say to the person who sent them, you probably also need to do some work, right? It's easy. Perception is projection. It's like the work we need to do. We want to blame it that somebody else needs to do that work. But yeah, I've had people come because their partner's about to break up with them and they're like, you've got to do something or I'm leaving you. And so they'll come. But the best way is when the person just from within their own motivation want to work on themselves.
Yeah.
And they can do amazing things.
So if I'm tuning in this and you go, oh, yeah, they raised a couple of points and, to view mindset within the view of property investment, I would imagine most of the audience of this podcast are already proactively, they've already made the thought process of I need to invest in my time into shaping my opinions on property investment and therefore take change. So most people are coachable, and the fact if people have already taken that first step, they're probably obviously coachable. And they say that the best operators in any sphere are those that are coachable, whether it's sports people, whether it's business people, whether it's whatever. Yes. A coachable mindset, as in being able to embrace new ideas and shape change as a result of it, is absolutely critical. So, and in property investment as much as anywhere else.
Yeah, because, again, to succeed in property investment, you have to keep growing and learning, right? You've got to keep up with all the trends. You've got to keep up with all the latest
bank policies and
everything. That's where your broker can help you out.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, that growth mindset, right, does wonders.
So back to this idea of concentrating on those things you can control rather than those things you can't control, and that's interest rates and lender policies and what the property market's doing and what the economy's doing and all that sort of stuff. You've got no bearing on that whatsoever. It's how you react and respond to it. So what I would argue then, the main thing that you can control is probably your mindset, because that's probably the centerpin of everything else that cascades out from that. Yeah. Potter's mindset's going to create positive attitudes towards work and life and happiness, and therefore increase your borrowability and probably better control on how you see yourself and everything from it. So the mindset, the mind is the key point.
It is, because you are projecting out your reality, right? There's like, say, there's this reality where someone can buy 6 properties or more, right? And someone else feels like, no, that's not possible. But the reality is it is possible. And so the person who thinks it isn't, it's purely, they've just actually made it up in their head and projected that out as truth. And so everything happens in our head.
So back to Tony Robbins then, just to conclude. So I can't remember the statistics you used, but people who had attended one of his, seminars or sessions, whatever, there was a positive application of that. Is that more of what he said, or is it more of the response of what people's personal response to that has shaped the behaviour? And that's the sort of behavioural bit of NLP. Like, how many times do you need to hear something before you do something about it?
Yeah, good question, because we often need the mind to wire in new habits. It takes repetition. So, like James Clear, he says, it takes around 66 days to form a new habit, and that's daily repetition or regular repetition. So we do need to hear things regularly. I think reason Tony Robbins' seminars were so successful is because of the whole immersion of it. So all the senses are involved.
The theatre helps.
The theatre, the mind, the body, the emotion, the visualizations, the study, the community, all of that combined creates this wonderful alchemy of change.
So does he use NLP tactics?
He started off as an NLP practitioner.
Oh, really?
That's where he started.
So he's very much uses the mechanisms of NLP in order to to shape that theatre.
Yeah, 100%. He did. Wow. And he, of course, he's added a lot more over the decades.
He's pretty good at what he does, though, isn't he?
He's very good at what he does, yeah.
How much longer do you reckon he's got it in himself? He's going to be doing it forever?
I don't know. I think his health is really bad, actually. Yes. I think he's pushed himself way too far.
Why do you think he does what? Do you reckon he really cares? Like, just on do you reckon he genuinely, really gets great satisfaction?
Yes.
So how do you align yourself professionally then to what you do for a living? Like, what matters to you? Is it seeing people take action, positive action? Yeah,
it's knowing that everyone can change, that no matter where they are in their life today, I know that if they come and work with me or come and apply the principles of NLP, that their life is going to improve. I know that 100%. And so it's very satisfying.
It sounds like you need to set up an adjacent stream inside your business for property investors. Yes. There's probably something to it, because I imagine there would be a lot, there'd be universal stuff.
Property mindset that needs to happen.
There you go.
Yeah.
NLP for property investors. Are you going to subscribe, Eva?
Yeah, I've got lots to say.
We should talk.
It's intriguing. Like, I enjoy the conversation. It's, I don't mind chatting theoretically about stuff or academically. But there's something in it, right?
Oh, there is.
And I think a lot of people, I've spoken to hundreds, thousands of property investors, and I think some people are organically built that they do this without a level of consciousness to it. And I would say they're fortunate if that's the case. But again, a lot of that would have been disciplined and, conditioned over years, right? There's got to be some level of consciousness to it, but it becomes a level of unconsciousness. And I think that's probably a successful thing, right?
Yes.
But there's something to it, and I'll take your point that most people probably can affect some change if they want to be responsible for adapting and taking that step forward to change.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And there's that process of learning where you go from, unconscious incompetence, where you don't know what you don't know, to conscious incompetence. You might hear this podcast and go, oh, wow, I didn't know any of that. And then you start to learn about it, and then you get to conscious competence, where you actually know it, but you're not a master of it. And then you get to unconscious competence, like where Eva is at, where she just knows it's in her blood, right? You just know it, you breathe it, sleep it, you know it, And so that's the process of learning. So no matter where someone's at today, they can end up at Eva's level of proficiency.
I think that was a compliment, Eva.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I'd argue otherwise. It's still
it's on the recording.
So it's on air. It's on air, but and no doubt, Eva, you it's easier for you to do your job if there's less conflict or internal mental conflict or contention with people, right?
Yeah, but actually I did, I don't know if you know, but I did one of Sonia's course, actually.
Oh, did you? Yeah.
And I'm very, conscious when I hear self-limiting belief. And I'm able to, rephrase a little bit how they think or give them information or where to find information to be more comfortable with what's bothering them. And that I can see that some clients that sometimes I've had for a year and did nothing. Suddenly it's like, okay, once I know enough and I'm comfortable with what I don't know, they can go ahead. They feel that they're still in control. Calculated risk.
And again, you don't want to sort of step outside the remits of a mortgage broker, but I imagine the best mortgage brokers are probably marriage counsellors, the therapists, coaches, there's more than just working out which mortgage has the best rate. It's about all the everything else sits around it, right? For today and tomorrow. You just don't take the mortgage for what you need
now.
The
one we hear a lot is people that haven't been investing and have like a very comfortable lifestyle is, if I invest, I'm going to lose that. That's one I hear.
Is that what people say?
Yeah.
And what are they going to lose if they start investing?
Well, especially in this time where interest rates are a bit high, it's negatively geared. You need to pump money into the property. It's like, well, my Saturday dinners, my holidays every 3 months, my Gucci bag, that's going to have to go. Not necessarily, but that's how.
So how do you say to someone like, do you really need like a hand? Like, this is me talking.
No,
I should never be a mortgage broker. Going,
do you really need that handbag? That's why your wife got you onto it.
So that you can put stuff in a plastic bag and carry it around. Why do you need a $5,000 handbag? Right. This is obviously
from a bloke.
A bloke.
I think most people, what they need to see is black and white figures on this is how much you're going to get in, this is how much coming out, this is how much you need to budget for. Is that working for you? If not, that's not the right property. Let's move on to the next. And I think once they know the numbers and comfortable with that, whether it's positive or negative, they're happy to go ahead.
I've never really thought too much about it, but there is such a psychological aspect to what a mortgage broker does. Because if people are turning to you for solutions, and the solution is directly...
Sorry.
The solution is directly usually connected to a goal, right? And if the goal is wealth creation through property, people probably don't like hearing stuff from you sometimes, right? Like it's your ability to deliver it in a way which is positive and connected and changes with that growth mindset. Like you must see so much wastage. You just go, what do you ever go, what are you doing? Like if I was a mortgage broker, what are you doing? You're an idiot. Just stop doing that. That's how I would frame it. Maybe I should never be a psychologist, but some hard truths are probably tough or tough love, if you want to call it.
I go with, if you do this today, this is where you're going to be in 5 years. We can project, right? This, if you don't do this is where you're going to be in 5 years. Yeah. And I leave them with that.
And what do they say? You don't know what you're talking about?
No, but it's pretty, it's science, compound interest, average growth, whatever it is. And they decide. And then if they're comfortable with the decision, that's fine as well.
So talk percentages. The talk percentages, how often do you see people not change once they have all the information?
I think
I'll reverse that. How often do you see people change once they have the information?
Yeah, look, I try to never say no to something. Sometimes it's really hard. It's not going to work, but it's like, okay, it's not working today, but if you do this and that, then we can squeeze it. Maybe not with the best lender, but we can make it work with Pep or whatever. And I think we're very lucky at Finni to get those people that are already willing to do some work, right? Yeah. So very often, within 3 months, they come back with that. It's like Rebecca's client, like 60K per hour in, just like that.
So people need, they need to have. They need to have a level of investment in the outcome. Otherwise, it's just no use even trying.
And I think those people, and I do get those clients as well that think investing is the goal, but it's not. It's what is the investing going to do for you?
Investing is the vehicle to get you to a goal.
But some people forget that. And they're just counting how many properties they have to compete with the other guy they saw at some summit, whatever. And they forget. So it's like, I just want my next property. But then it's like, well, right now, the next property you would buy is not worth you doing it. Just wait, do this. And then that's going to be the next level for you to keep going a bit further and get to your goal.
So you like coachable people as well?
Coachable people.
Okay, well, I think we've solved everything, but worked out nothing, Sonya. Other than, I think there's something in mindset for property investors.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Yeah. There you go. You can have that one.
Thank you.
Born here on the Smart Property Investment Show.
Yes, we need to
You've seen it.
Yeah. No, it's
Could we do some podcasts with some actual techniques like there? We should do live one with people coming and asking questions. And can you
do some?
Yes, I can. Do some NLP juju on them.
So can you actually do can you actually sit there and do some stuff like?
You can.
Because it's a what do you call it? like anchor. There's techniques like anchoring and all that sort of stuff, right?
Yes,
yeah,
correct.
yeah. I don't know where and how I pulled that out of my brain, but
I know.
it's somewhere.
You know a lot. So that's it. You can install positive anchors. You can collapse negative anchors or negative triggers.
And that's through like touch and words, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Very simple. Like a 15-minute process can change a person's whole behaviour.
Have you worked on Eva? Have you done some magic?
Yeah, we did
on
7 days together in the
Really?
course.
Did you do 7 days?
To Jude.
Was it like a residential thing, or was it like over like 7 days back to back, or was that over a period of time?
It's 4 and 3.
Yeah,
4
yeah.
days.
Really? Did you actually? Yeah.
Yeah.
God.
Are you impressed?
No, I'm not impressed. Like, what was your? What,
She's actually coachable.
She's a
are you a certified? Are you
certified practitioner.
I
of
didn't know
NLP.
that. So you're a certified NLP practitioner.
She is.
Wow. Do you reckon you're a better broker as a result of it?
Yes. Because
Why?
I can hear now,
Yeah.
not only like, okay, believe that just like, okay, that comes from nowhere and clients have heard that at the barbecue, whatever. But also you taught us how to know if someone needs like very detailed information or if they just want, okay, this is how it's going to work, or you've done a graph with a little house and this is going, and then I can really tailor my answer to how people learn and understand.
You got the
things.
magic sauce now.
Yeah, I can.
So do you have to sit there? Are you guys NLPing me right now? Like I just don't know. That's why I'm sitting so far away from you. I don't want none of this anchoring stuff. But
anchoring.
do you have to go flick a switch and go, what's my NLP response?
Yeah, and you know what?
to
I
this?
think
Yeah.
I get clients to the decision point a lot quicker now. When
Okay.
before it was like, okay, well, think about it, come back to me when you're ready. Now I'm like, well, this is the options, and I present them the way I think I know they needs to see it or hear it, or and I feel like I get clients more comfortable about they feel in control. I think.
Okay. And people like to be guided, particularly when they're talking
They
about
don't know.
finances,
Yeah,
some of their
they
biggest
don't know.
financial decisions. Yeah, I didn't know that. Oh, good work.
I think I was not. It's not too nice the word, but I think I was leaving people with too many choices before.
Okay. So you're helping people be more decisive in this decision making.
Yeah, I think that's.
Is that because you give them optionality or choice quicker, or help them actually understand what it
I guess I was like,
is?
you know, as a broker, we have to give 3 options. We have to best interest duty, right? So I was doing that, very well. But now I'm more like, okay, these 3 options, but really, this is the one for you.
Are you going to put
why.
your rest of your brokers on the course? Sounds like, or you have done, or
Yeah, I talk about a lot of things during meetings and that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, cool. Well, thank you. Thanks for making Eva a better broker, Sonya.
Oh, my pleasure.
And it works for everyone.
That's why I get up in the morning.
Yeah, cool. All right. Wow. Well, it's nice to reconnect with NLP. I haven't thought about it for a long time. It's sort of makes sense.
It does.
Mind, words, behaviour. That's how I remember it.
Yeah. That's all you need to remember. Work on any one of those. It's going to change your life.
And the internal discussion's probably the most important thing you can have.
Yes.
Yeah. Probably my conclusion of it all.
Yes.
Cool. All right. I didn't really go into this podcast thinking we were going to be chatting about this sort of stuff, but that's all right. Centre for Life Therapies. So I'm sure people can track you down if they want to find out what's going on.
Yes.
Soon to have a course for 2025.
That's right.
NLP mindset for property investors.
That's right.
only
You've heard it here first.
available to Finni mortgages clients.
That's right.
You can do a session.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, we could do something together.
Yeah, maybe. I generally reckon.
There's something in
there's
there.
something in it.
Yeah,
there
sure.
is.
There's something in it because and I think I tried to make the point that the main thing you can control is your attitude towards stuff.
Yeah.
And everything else comes from there, and a positive attitude is going to shape better outcomes and behaviours. So I'll leave everyone with that, call it a word of wisdom, maybe. I don't know. Just the musings of an idiot, what other people might be saying. But Sonya at Furlong, Centre for Life Therapies, thanks for joining us today. That's
Thank
good.
you.
And Eva, it's not too late for Christmas.
It's not too late for Christmas.
People can, even if they want to have prelim
Start
chats
with-
with you, work out
yeah.
what's going on, people might like what you're saying, going, oh, yeah, I like the cut of her jib. She seems to know what she's talking about. More than just a mortgage broker. Best way to track you down?
Yeah, finni.com.au, book an appointment, and then you have a choice of.
Who you get to chat to.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Easy.
Nice one. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Remember to check out smartpropertyinvestment.com.au. Social media, you can track us down, Smart Property. HQ or just Smart Property Investment. Keep the reviews coming. We do like them. I hope you enjoyed this. A different chat, but happy to have more of these discussions if that's what people like, around less the technical and the tactical stuff or strategies around property investment, but more around the important stuff, and that's the continuity of positivity around property investment, and that's how well you control your mindset. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Until then, bye-bye.
The information featured in this podcast is general in nature and does not take into consideration your financial situation or individual needs and should not be relied upon. Before making any investment, insurance, tax, property or financial planning decision, you should consult a licensed professional who can advise whether your decision is appropriate for you. Guests appearing on this podcast may have a commercial relationship with the companies mentioned.